Watch out, that's right. Give them all some love. I'm telling you, just the most amazing team ever. It's just absolutely profound. Woo, goodness gracious. I'm trembling like a small child. So during the Civil War, the Union general went to the president at the time, Abraham Lincoln, and he said, "Sir, I believe we're going to win because God is on our side." And Abraham Lincoln looked at the man and said, "I'm interested in something so much more than that. I want to make sure that we are on God's side. I want to make sure that we are on God's side." And so here we are today, many, many years later, and we are affirming on behalf of our great teaching that we are on God's side. Not a selected group of people, not just a few people, not just some people, not just those people that may be divided by city lines, but they are not divided from our heart and in our spirituality in which we live and move and have our being. I have said for many years, if you glorify and say you love God and you do not love all that Creator has created, there's a miss there. There's a deep miss there on behalf of your consciousness and your energetic field. I would urge you to dig into it. As my friend said, let's don't even call this a sacred time out. Let's call it a sacred time in. And really get deep and really look and not be so quick to dismiss and discount what's going on around us. You see, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Injustice anywhere affects justice everywhere." And so we do more than just put our toe into the waters. We put our whole selves into that space and into that awareness. As you know, I love the quote where Plato said he found it very discerning that children are afraid of the dark, but more importantly, that adults are afraid of the light. And he would say that and highlight that energy. And you know, to me, it's more than kumbaya and singing, "You are the light of the world." You're the light of the world because when there's a condition or there's a situation, you're called to put light on it. You're called to do something with it. I love when people send me comments and tell me the answer to today's solutions is to pray and meditate. And being a spiritual leader, I would say, yes, absolutely. That is one of our founding two principles of our movement, is to pray and meditate. However, it does not say that's all you ever have to do. It does not say just pray and meditate and and you have no responsibility to speak your voice and to state your truth and to stand up for what you stand for. It's like having your car, a garage, and never putting your car in it. Prayer and meditation does not replace everything in your life that you still need to do that's action-oriented or have a voice about something that matters. It gives you the energy to do it and do it well. Prayer opens you up. Meditation lines you in. That when you stand grounded, wherever you are, you speak in a way that your words recognize and resonate as a sacred warrior, and it is heard throughout the land. Obviously, when Martin Luther King made his speech, he was prayed up. He was meditated in. And those words still ring true to this day of the power and the energetic presence. And now we are called to be more. I am here today as a spiritual leader, but I am also here as a citizen. And I am a citizen of this great land. And so I have heart and passion about things that matter to me a whole lot. and willing to stand for them at a deeper level, you see. There is a wonderful scripture in Matthew 22, and it gives us clarity about ways in which we are to live. And one of those scriptures says, "Ye shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your might and with all your soul," right? And with all your mind, right? I think I may have added one in there, right? And that is the great commandment. But what is the second commandment? Love your neighbor, right? Love your neighbor. But what is the word? Love thy neighbor. But the second part to me is the missing part. It's glossed over. Some people don't even say it. Do a golden rule. You love your neighbor. No, it says so much more than that. It calls you to love your neighbor as yourself. As yourself. As yourself. So when your insecurities show up, when your anger and rage, when you are divisive, when you are separated, all you're telling us is that you don't really love yourself. What you're telling us is that you are divided and you are separated, and we want to pray for you. And we want to hold that sacred space for you, because it doesn't say just some neighbors or the neighbors on some side of town. It says you are to love your neighbors as yourself. Does this light you at all? Are you resonating with what I'm talking about? Because it's imperative that we get that, and that we are aware of that very conversation. So, and we have to go deeper. We definitely have to go deeper. So when you catch the judgment of somebody that looks a certain way and acts a certain way, you have to go deeper and see why you're not loving that person as yourself. And you have to get real, and you have to get honest, and you have to go deep. And more than likely, you're going to find that it's in your DNA. Your DNA is doing and never asking for change. Your DNA is something that you learned from grandpappy or grandmama or somebody else that told you it's not okay to love all your neighbors as yourself, you see? But you are here in your own karma to be accountable for you. And grandpappy and grandmama aren't going to save you somewhere on the other side. You're going to be accountable when that movie runs to your life. It's not going to be all those other people that made you be enslaved by your own ignorance and your own misunderstanding of the law. It's going to be you, and you're going to be lit up. And you're going to want to be able to say how you are the light of the world, because you actually brought light to conditions and circumstances in your city and in your country and across the world. How did you change something by the very nature that you are here? Turn to somebody and say, I'm willing and I'm in. I'm willing and I'm in. You know, I'm a firm believer. I used to shock people in New Thought when I was 30 years old, and I would stand up and go, I'm an alcoholic, right? I used to shock people when I was in my 40s and go, I'm a gay minister. You know, but we're here to bring that vibration. We're not doing it because we want to impress somebody. We're doing it because we want to impress upon somebody that we either believe all the way into our New Thought teachings or we don't. We don't just get to serve a select few people that look like us and act like us and talk like us and sing cute songs together, right? Absolutely. It's about when you love people as yourself that don't look like you, that don't act like you, that don't do things just like you, and that's when you grow. We are healed by what we turn towards, not what we turn away from. We are healed by what we turn towards, not what we turn away from. And when we go into that conversation, then we make that connection. Because we go down to the deeper than the surface chitter-chatter, and we really work with those ideas. It is time that we all affirm together, Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. It's been going on for 400 plus years, and it must change. And it doesn't mean that you and I can have an aha moment and that's enough. It means that we will continue these conversations in our city and in our communities until things are changed and we are equal. We are equal, you see, because that is what is calling forth and being called forth. And, you know, I've cried many tears these last few days because I can't say I know how you feel. Please don't say that to a black person, you know how they feel. And don't give them the reasons that you know how they feel, because you don't know how they feel. And I thought, you know, I have been an advocate for my black family since I was a kid. I grew up with black family members working in my grandfather's farm and the dairy, and I didn't think of it as being that they were less than, because there were white people and black people, and they were all working together. I did not really notice it until I went into the public school system, going into high school. And then, of course, I was called so many different names, most which I've never repeated, don't want to repeat again, because I did love black people and did car rides, and we were family and went to their wedding. But then I realized there was a big difference in my family. Then I realized it. Well, aside from the fact, too, that they thought gay people were going to go to hell. But I'm not going to talk about that today. But the other thing I recognized is what they were doing. They were saying they tolerated black people, but they didn't love black people. You see, and I invite you to go to your level of your own private journaling. Are you just saying, I'm wanting to learn how to tolerate, or are you saying, I'm learning to love? I'm willing to love my neighbor as myself, as if that were me. And I thought about how I was so uncomfortable for so many years that somebody was going to find out that I was gay. You know, we did things like only go out at night often, you know, and those kind of things. But what I thought was, at least as a gay person, I could hide. Even though somebody might kill me, I could hide. I could hide in a corner. I could pretend to be somebody I wasn't. I could take the good-looking guy to the prom. I could do different things to get people confused, you see. I could fake it often because I wanted to live and I didn't want to die. You cannot hide the color of your skin. And so I have felt that this week of that. Of the energy of that and the beauty of what is happening now. I hear a lot of leaders say, oh my goodness, oh my word, we've had COVID and now we have racism. Oh my word, we've had COVID and now we have racism. If it's not one thing, if it's not just one thing now, it's just now another. But I'm going to invite you to see this as a different way. COVID gave us the opportunity to look at the underneath viruses that were going on in our consciousness. And COVID invited us to be still and be quiet and not go out. Invited us to be in the places of silence, and you may not have been aware of that or not, but that was what's happening, because all those extra activities of noise and coming here and going there and running here and going yonder, all that was put to a stop. Your whole island, if you lived on an island, your whole area became quietened. It became silent. It became still. And I was thinking about how in the early days of my shamanic practices, when they told me that I needed to be silent, the whole idea terrified me. I mean, since my mouth was wired together with major jaw surgery, I don't think I've stopped talking anytime I've been awake. You know what I'm saying? And so I was just like, oh my gosh, you want me to be quiet and not say anything? And what I observed when I worked with my teacher and I would spend a weekend in silence, I couldn't go get on an airplane because I was so sensitive that I could feel everything and I could feel everyone. And I told my teacher, I said, I'm not resisting silence. I'm starting to get it, but I can't be in silence all weekend and then go into something full activity because it is just overwhelming to me and I feel every bit of it. That's what I feel is part of what's happened with COVID-19. I feel that it was time that our nation became quiet. And people became more into the silence, and they weren't into their busy making or their pretentiousness or keeping up with whomever or whatever. And then came the deaths, Breonna, Aubrey, George Floyd, right? And we were quiet, and we felt it. And we felt it in a way that we have never been reached, or I'm just stating my own opinion, in this lifetime. And here we are. And you can see the dramatic change that people are awake. They are walking and they are talking. And they will not be still until it's not just glorified posters and T-shirts, but it is true systemic racism changes. Are you with me? Amen. So that's that energetic space you see, and that's that consciousness of what we are calling in and what we are about in this space. When I did a memorial a while ago, and I don't think I'll ever forget it, there was this baby that was seated among the 200, 300 people, and it just felt like a non-emotional experience. And this baby starts crying so loud, just crying and crying and crying. And the mother was so uncomfortable. You know, she was just so concerned. And so she takes the baby out in the lobby. Well, they were singing a song at the time. So I left and I went out in the lobby and I said, I looked at the baby and I said, thank you. Thank you, dear. You're the only one that is showing the emotion in the room. Please don't stop. Please don't get quiet. Please don't stop crying. Let it out. You're crying for all of us today because we are sad, and somebody told us that that's not okay. Somebody taught us that that's unacceptable. Ma'am, I don't know you, but would you please bring the baby back? And the baby sat there and held that sacred space for everybody in the room. And then I told the story of what had occurred, and everybody let their floodgates go. Everybody let their feelings go. You see, it's sacred to recognize that we are on God's side. We stand for the energetic presence and power. I've always identified with Victor Hugo there is one thing stronger than all the armies of the world, and that is an idea who's come. And this is one of those times for all of us. This is one of these times for the cleansing of our nation. It's one of our times that we can be aware of how people are still enslaved by being held back, by being treated different, by certain communities that are highlighted more than others, by certain schools that hold black people back, by communities that hold black people back, by financial that holds black people back. So we have a mighty work ahead of us. But to hold this energetic presence, you see, and to bring it forth, it's like those two little boys that I always think of them often. I think about it in my own life, of when the mom felt like that they acted out all the time. And so she called a minister that could work with troubled kids, and she invited the minister in and said, see what you could do with them. So he said, well, I only want to, talk with one of them at a time. You can tell they team up together. So one little boy, go back to your bedroom, and I'm going to talk to the other one. And so the minister looks at the little boy and says, son, where's God? And the little boy's eyes get real big. Son, where is God? He said, I don't know. Son, I'm talking, where is God? And the little boy went, I don't know. And he went running back to his brother. And his brother says, oh my gosh, what is it? Are we in trouble? What's going on? And the little boy said, I don't really know. The preacher just kept saying, where is God? So obviously God is missing, and they think we have him. So How is God missing? Is there a space in your life that that's true? Is there a moment in your awareness that that could be existing? In my awareness that that can be existing? And how can I show that we stand with God? We stand with the one presence, the one power in the universe. In our fifth principle, it says very clearly, now that you know all these things and you've been practicing these principles, it is how you live your life. Live your life boldly. Live it bravely. And let us align with the original concept of what creation was designed and destined to be. God bless you. Thank you for being here.